worldwide at 𝗙𝗏𝗺1059.com.
All right, here we go. It is a Monday. Reaction Monday in the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau, go! With the home team. They are your home team at Farm Bureau all over the great state of Mississippi. Your hometown heroes, that's your local Farm Bureau insurance agents. Hey! How y'all are? I'm Matt. Beaver is here. We're here. Glad you're here. We got a reason to be here because you're here. Thanks for tuning in today, and I hope you'll be a part of it. You can text me. You can call. You can comment on the live stream. Good to be in here with you on a Monday. And what's going on? What's going on with this baseball stuff? Huh? Hey, and right out of the chutes, too, before I even get to, like, how to comment on the live stream or what the text number is, and, all that stuff. I do think that we owe a tip of the cap to the Arkansas Razorbacks. I mean, my goodness, did y'all see what they did? They called some hogs in Fayetteville. Number one team in the country, Texas Longhorns, go in there and get swept. Bump, bump. Okay, so that's Arkansas. We're going to talk more about that. Now, oh yeah. This really isn't an and also, because I know this is something that will, it's the way it is. It's something we'll get into. That wasn't the only sweep that happened in the SEC, was it? In the world is going on in Stark Vegas? More on that in a bit. So get on in here today. You can be a part of the show. Oh, and by the way, Southern Miss won 9 in a row. 9 in a row. To the top. All right. Get on in here. You can be a part of it. It's the same as, when you communicate on the show, you pop the message in there, you text or call. It's kind of like, plopping down at the table with me and Beav. You see us, so then we'll even pour you a hot cup of coffee from High Point Roasters in New Albany, Mississippi. So if you're on the live stream, hey to you. If you're on YouTube or Facebook or X, formerly Twitter, just drop a comment in there, and we'll get to it. Pop it up on the screen. That's one way to be a part of the show. You can also text me on the Country Pleasing text line. The number to text is 885-3776. Got it? 601 number, 885-3776. And you can also call me on the Davini phone, Davini Equipment in Madison and in Jackson. Your Kubota dealer, the oldest Kubota dealer in the U.S., in fact. It means they've been doing it better, longer than anyone else right here at home at Davini. The number to call is 897-1059. 897-1059. So give me a shout. Coming to your texts on the Country Pleasing text line in just a minute. Denzel and Hog Jowl and Jason in Flagstaff. He's not from there, but in Flagstaff. But first, I'm going to attempt to overcome the massive delay between me and home base there in Jackson, and I'm going to try to talk to Beaver, and I'm going to see how it goes. I have no idea. Beaver, do you read me? See? Told you. Big delay. I told you. Well, more on that in a bit. Oh, and here's a good example of how the live stream works. This is Gene on Facebook, and he commented and said, Joe Powell is on fire. But he didn't spell out fire. He just put fire emoji. He is, isn't he? I mean, he has been on a tear. And maybe even not on a tear, just in that he can't miss one. It's just he's been very clutch. Yeah. And so State's on a little bit of a win streak. Okay, so let's start right there. We're going to hit headlines, and then I'm coming back to your comments with the answer to the question, what is going on with State baseball? Headlines, here we go.
Good evening. I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world.
Good evening, and welcome to Eyewitness News.
Here's what's making news.
Headlines. Brought to you by the Mortgage Man Group, powered by Illuminate Bank right here in Mississippi. The Mortgage Man Group, find them online at mortgagemanms.com. mortgagemanms.com. Baseball results from around the SEC this weekend. We touched on a little bit of it already. There were 3 different sweeps that are actually 4 different sweeps that happened in the SEC this weekend. Topped off by Arkansas sweeping number 1 ranked Texas at home in Fayetteville this weekend. And so Arkansas jumps up there. It's funny, I had just seen a Texas fan that commented and said, like on some post about Texas baseball being 16-2 and number 1 in the SEC in baseball. And they said, when does this SEC grind supposedly start? And then immediately they go get swept on the road. Well, we told you it was coming. The other sweeps in the SEC, Georgia swept Missouri. Missouri still winless in baseball in the SEC. State with the sweep at home over Kentucky in Starkville. And Florida on the road at South Carolina. They got a sweep of the Gamecocks up there in Columbia. Elsewhere in the SEC, it was Auburn taking 2 out of 3 at Tennessee in Knoxville. So a big win for Auburn, series win. They were going for the sweep in Game 3, and Tennessee salvaged that with a walk-off. Texas A&M took 2 out of 3 from LSU at home in College Station. So A&M is still surprising people and kind of have flipped the switch after a really slow start. Vanderbilt taking 2 out of 3 from Alabama in Nashville. And it was Oklahoma at home in Norman taking 2 out of 3 games from Ole Miss. And again, I think that was Oklahoma, front-ending that series where they won the first 2 and were going for the sweep, and then Ole Miss was able to salvage a game. So what that has done to this weekend's games, what that has done to the SEC schedule is this. It wasn't 16-2, they were 19-2, but Texas is still in first place at 19-5. Arkansas jumped up there into sole second place right now in the SEC, 2 games behind Texas at 17-7. And then you have Georgia and LSU tied for 3rd in the league right now at 15-9. Tennessee's 5th in the league, tied with Vandy for 5th in the league at 14-10. Then you have 4 teams at the halfway point of the league, dead middle of the league, 4 teams in the middle of the league. That's Alabama, Auburn, Oklahoma, and Ole Miss, all at 13-11, 2 games above 500. That's spot number 7 and up with ties. And so here with a couple of weeks left, the remaining SEC is all below 500 in varying degrees. You got Florida at 11-13. 3 teams at 10-14 in the SEC. That's Kentucky, State, and A&M. And then at the bottom of the league, you have South Carolina, who's 5-19, and of course Missouri, who is 0-24 in SEC play. And Southern Miss, I mentioned it earlier, they remained hot as a firecracker here lately. I mean, it has been a long time since they lost a game. They extended their winning streak to 9 straight with a weekend sweep of Arkansas State at Pete Taylor Park in Hattiesburg. Close game on Friday night. Pitchers duel. It's a 2-1 win for Southern Miss. They had to gut it out. But then blowouts the rest of the weekend. Beat them 8-0 in Game 2, a shutout. And then yesterday, a run rule 7-inning win, 14-2. Let's see. So their winning streak of 9 games goes all the way back to April the 19th, when they beat Georgia State in Game 3 of their series in Hattiesburg on April the 19th. They had one game canceled in that stretch, but they beat Georgia State on that Saturday. It was Game 3 of their series. A midweek win over CELA, a sweep of App State on the road, a midweek win over New Orleans, and now a sweep at home of Arkansas State. And up next for Southern Miss, no midweek game that I see on the schedule unless there's some makeup that's going to pop in there. But on the official schedule, I don't see a midweek. What's on there is hosting the Ragin' Cajuns of Louisiana this coming weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday series, which will be a huge one there in Sunbelt play in Hattiesburg. So all baseball, and there's a look at your headlines, brought to you by the Mortgage Man Group, powered by Luminate Bank here in Mississippi. Go to mortgagemanms.com. Anything mortgage related, that's where you want to go. All right, so several questions arise. One, first question. What's going on in Starkville? How many in a row have they won? I mean, they hadn't lost since the coaching change. You know, I had a couple people at church yesterday. They were asking, like, do you think that just a coaching change can make that big of a difference? You know, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm not in their clubhouse, but I do know that, you know, is it me? Am I crazy? Or are y'all picking up on this too? Like everywhere you turn, let's say on social media, there will be a player's dad or family member or something commenting about the team is playing loose and free. Okay. And then there's Coach Parker using kind of the same language. And I think that was maybe after the first or second game that he coached as the interim here after they fired Coach Lamonas, using the words, you know, they're playing loose and free. And there was a comment in there somewhere from Parker after this weekend about State, you know, playing the whole, I think, and this is sort of a paraphrase, but it's going to be pretty close to the quote, but playing the whole game of baseball as opposed to just going up there trying to smash home runs. You know, and you pick up these little clues, and I mean, I don't know if that's with the radar up, it just comes across as people saying, you know, prior under Coach Lamonas, the team wasn't playing loose and free, and they were not playing a whole game of baseball, and we're going up there trying to smash home runs. I mean, I don't know. That's the way it looked. 3-game sweep of Kentucky, first sweep of the year for State in baseball. Now, Kentucky's not great. They're not the team that went to Omaha a year ago. But, you know, a run rule in the first one, an extra innings deal where you win one of those one-run games where State has not been winning one-run games this year. And then, of course, finished it off yesterday pretty dominant, only allow one run, beat them 6-1. A couple of web gems out there. Number 2 play on the plays of the day or whatever. I saw that on X. And again, looking at it for State, unless there's some pop-up makeup midweek that I'm not aware of, the official schedule, you don't have a midweek. All you got to do is get ready to – it's almost like you'd wish you'd had one, right, because you got momentum right now. But State's getting ready to host Ole Miss this coming weekend. And then it's the home stretch of a midweek game, UNA, finishing up by by going to Missouri and Columbia. It'll be the last series of the year for – we'll see if, you know, what shape they're in and whether or not Missouri is still winless at that point. But how many is it? 4 wins in a row. You make the coaching change after the series loss to Auburn, giving up 14 runs on a Sunday, lose 14-8. Make a coaching change. Beat Memphis in the midweek in 7 innings, 18-5. Beat Kentucky 14-4 in 7. Walk one off in the 11th in game 2. And then a 1-run, you know, allow 1 run, get a 6-1 win. If you've played 4 games under Parker the interim, and 2 of the 4 have been run rules. So I don't know. I mean, it's a small enough sample size. It leads me to want to go, yeah, I mean, I don't know. You don't know yet if it makes that big a difference. But I just know something looks and feels different. And you can say this definitively, and that is the timing of making the change with the results in these 4 games since is really going to work out for the athletics department as it pertains to attendance and excitement going into the series this weekend, hosting Ole Miss in Starkville. It'll be packed to the gills. It'll be, I mean, it will. It's going to be busting at the seams. It'll be the kind of atmosphere that most places in the country don't get to experience from a college baseball standpoint. You'll have it this weekend, and a lot of that has to do with you made a coaching change and you've won 4 games straight since. I mean, say it like it is. All right, over to the text line, the Country Pleasin' text line. Country Pleasin' sausage on grocery store shelves all around the Southeast. Hog Jowl texts the show. He says, hey, Matt, hope you and yours had a great weekend. I watched the Hogs run the horns out of Fayetteville. Says, I'm listening to you while working in the Tusk Tiny Garden. And he said, and just now Beth fussed at Lily and me for being too rowdy. Says, my cup runneth over. And he sent me a picture of he and Lily. And they've got a red Arkansas Razorback statue painted. And I guess he's part of the Tusk Garden there. And Miss Beth got on to him. They were, y'all need to settle down out there, Hog. It's a beautiful day. It is a beautiful day to be outside. I know that. Denzel, what's up? White Denzel texted the show. He said, now, Matt, you can tell me I'm wrong, but this goes for anyone who defended Lamonis all season. It says, now do you see? Now do you see? The team was a completely different team this weekend. They were allowed to have fun and play loose, and said if Bucket Master was still the head coach, we may have won 1 game versus Kentucky. Yeah, maybe so. I just know they're playing well. And like you say, Denzel, I mean, it's interesting. You talk to people, you wonder who has information and others who's just picking it up secondhand like I'm doing. But I'm reading some comments and tea leaves, and I'm just getting the impression that the message coming out of their clubhouse is that they felt stifled, or I don't know. You hate to use the word constipated on the radio, but that's kind of the impression you're getting. Now, they have won 4 in a row, and it's 4 games against teams that are not, we're not talking about Texas and LSU here. We're talking about Memphis and then Kentucky, but still they have looked like a different team. They're flying around, hitting the ball, and I do think that, you can just naturally close your eyes and picture a scenario where if you have a group of guys who, even though they're trying hard, if they don't really genuinely believe in their leader, if for some reason you had a group of guys who they didn't believe, Coach Lamonis was doing all the right things and putting them in the best position, then that has an effect. And if that group of folks feels like they're all of a sudden the tether has been cut, and or they have, if you have some collective belief in the interim that now all of a sudden he's putting you in a better position, then yeah, I would say it could have an effect. It definitely could. Nick texts the show. He says, happy Cinco de Mayo, most famously celebrated by H.E. Pennypacker, a wealthy American industrialist looking to open a silver mine in the mountains of Peru. Okay. Is that a Seinfeld reference, or is that true? I never know, Nick, with you. Let's see here. Somebody says at one time North Alabama was on the schedule for Tuesday night. Well, like I say, I'm looking. The schedule that I'm looking at has UNA, North Alabama, on the schedule next Tuesday night, May the 13th. Not this Tuesday night, if you look at hailstate.com. Jason, Flagstaff, Arizona says on the Country Pleasing text line. He questioned, he said, is this Gary Henderson 2.0? Remember? Yeah, remember that? What was that, the Canizero deal? Of course, that was earlier in the year. And then Henderson coaches the team right on into Omaha. Man, that was something else, wasn't it? See, was that the team, Jason, that had... I'm trying to put all the players in the right position. Obviously, Mangan was a part of it. But I'm drawing a blank. The kid's name that Jordan Westberg, who's with the Orioles now. Westberg was a freshman, and it was either the first or second game of that College World Series. Westberg, I think, had a pinch hit grand slam over the left field wall there at TD Ameritrade. I think that was against North Carolina, maybe. You know what's interesting, Jason? I have rattled off those numbers about that College World Series team that won it all in 2021, that was their fifth straight super regional, and it was like their third straight trip to Omaha. But when I try to get to the specifics, it's like because of that experience in 21, I have forgotten so much of the specifics of what happened to those previous teams in Omaha. I don't know how to remember it anymore. Or maybe that's just a sign of age. I don't know. But I know this. We're just getting started on this Reaction Monday. More Bully, I'll get to your texts and others coming up. And then on the live stream, Sven, I'm coming to you too. He's over in Germany. He's over there watching on YouTube. So all that and more coming up. Stick around. Y'all heard me talk about Murray West and MurrayWest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are. Contract embroidery company here in Mississippi. Started back in 1996, family owned. They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit their place up in New Albany. Let me show you a little bit about it. I say they do quality stuff. They really do. And so custom apparel, team stuff, I mean, really and truly, just about every high school in the state is sending their embroidered, team gear, jackets, shirts, hats, stuff. Baseball teams, football teams, they're sending it to the folks at Murray West in New Albany. You go to their website, MurrayWest.com, you go to the bottom, you can kind of see some of the Prairie Wildlife, Ole Miss Athletics, Gentile, others that they work with. Can't recommend them enough. If you need your logo printed, embroidered, sewn on to anything, custom apparel and other stuff, make sure you go there. Murray West, you can find them online. MurrayWest.com. That's MURRY West.com.
I'm Eddie Holcomb with Washington County Farm Bureau Insurance.
I'm Scott Rainwater with Farm Bureau Insurance here in Washington County.
I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau.
I'm Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
I think you know what time it is. It's time to eat. Country pleasing, jalapeno and cheddar, green onion. And no, it's not a grill, see that? But the fire is just about burnt down enough where it's time to put some of this on there. And the only decision when it comes to country pleasing sausage is which flavor, jalapeno and cheddar or maybe green onion. Both.
Break me off a piece of that.
Look at that. You know what that is? That's real green onion. Like that monkey who set his tail on a railroad track. It won't be long now. Country Pleasing sausage, these flavors, and many, many others. Get them online at countrypleasing.com. At a grocery store near you, pretty much anywhere in the Southeast, walk up in there and say, Country Pleasing, please. And they'll know what you're talking about.
I was born and raised in Greenville. I've always called Greenville home. This is where I, was raised, went to high school, graduated high school, worked all my life here, leading up to going to college. So even when I moved from Greenville, I always told people, they asked me where you're from, I always said I'm from Greenville. I have mother, father, brother, niece, aunt, all live here in Greenville. So this is home. This is where I, live, and I've just always called it home. Small town, I feel like I could walk in any place tomorrow and know 2 to 3 people in there. It's small town. Someone's on the side of the road broken down. Hey, you need a boost, flat tire, you need help changing it. That's just kind of, what I love about this area. The blues and the food and everything that comes along with the Mississippi Delta that I love. I tell people all the time, my business card.
You're going to hear about them all and get to talk about it with Matt Wyatt right here, right now on the Zone 105.9 and worldwide at thezone1059.com.
Back with you. Delay is gone. Reaction Monday in full swing. Here we go. I got more text to come to on the Country Pleasing text line. By the way, if you're listening, you want to text in your reaction to this Reaction Monday, please do. On the Country Pleasing text line, that stands for Country Pleasing Sausage. I had jalapeno and cheddar for breakfast. The number to text is 885-3776. Got it? 885-3776. That's the number to text. On the live stream, Sven in Berlin, Germany is on YouTube, and he said, "Hail State, everyone." He says, well, the GOAT, Nick Saban, went to President Trump and searched for help in that NIL mess. And it says, what can he do? Overrule a court? For sure not. Executive orders? Maybe. And then he went on and said, and I'm curious why State's winning now all these baseball games. Do we have new players? And the softball ladies beat up on the Rebels, and he offered congrats. They did. They got 2 out of 3, right? The softball team did from Ole Miss. Won the first 2, couldn't quite finish off the sweep. But on the Diamonds, not just one, but multiple, in Starkville this weekend. It was a good weekend. Good weekend. And it was, in fact, Super Bulldog weekend. They just didn't have football with it. Kind of a weird deal this year. I mean, I don't know. Don't ask me. But technically, this was Super Bulldog weekend. And technically, it's way too deep into this radio show to be talking to Beaver for the first time, but that's what we're going to do. Because I tried to talk to him earlier, and Bill was in there distracting him. Beaver! I give up. I give up. I give up. Hold on. Hey, reckon what would happen if we just don't say anything? If I had access to the phone interface myself, we just call Bill's number, distract him. Oh, well. Hey, Jason. All right. I didn't get to all of it, did I? No, I just did the Gary Henderson 2.0 thing. All right. So Jason texted and he wondered if State's going through a Gary Henderson 2.0. Well, that certainly remains to be seen. There was a lot to do about that, if you remember. Okay, so they fired Canizero after the weird thing at the beginning of the year. it was on field. It was on field being affected by off field stuff, right? So they fire him and make Gary Henderson the interim, who he had head coaching experience previously at Kentucky. Takes him to the College World Series. Heck of a run. Really cool thing. And then John Cohen didn't retain him as the head coach. Went and hired Lemonis instead. And you go, well, did it work? Well, they sure as heck had a lot of success those first couple of years under Lemonis. One of those years got cut short in those first three. That was the COVID year. But the 19 year, they take them to Omaha. They were really playing good baseball 7 or 8 games into it before they shut it down for COVID, and then the next year go win the whole thing. It'd be hard-pressed to say it didn't work out right then, you know. But here we are again. So now it was Lemonis' time through it. So he gets fired. And here's Parker stepping up. You're 4-0 under him, and not just 4-0, but looked really good. Played 4 games, won them all 4. 2 of the 4 were run rules, and it involved a sweep of an SEC team. But still, we got a ways to go. Now, the other thing Jason said was, he says, it's easier to be, quote-unquote, free and loose when you're not worried about being fired and or benched every other play, to be fair. He said, I think Lemonis was pressing, and so was the team. Well, okay. Jason, I think you're probably onto something there. I think there's probably a lot of truth in that. I think, with the last couple of years, the way things have gone, and there's just going to be some natural pressure there. Even if you weren't at a place that had this humongous, diehard, emotional fan base, just as a competitor, there'd be a lot of pressure with the way the last few years went. Pressure you add on yourself, but you add in the fact that it's state and it's baseball and it's, the baseball fan base at state. Say what you want, okay, but it's a very educated baseball fan base. It is. And I don't say that in like a hoity way. I say it in, you've got just a fan base that is huge in numbers, very plugged in, and a vast majority of those diehard baseball fans that go to games in Starkville and that keep up with the team really do understand baseball to a great degree. And that's not the case everywhere else. And I hate to be this way, but I'm just going to say it. I mean, you can point to some others like Tennessee. They got a great team, and they just won it all. Great team, great coach, lots of great athletes. But by and large, they have a fan base that I don't think at times really does understand baseball all that well. It's different at like LSU or State. It just is. So, that added to the pressure too. And Jason, I had heard through the grapevine too that like one person described it as, they said, how football coaches are kind of notoriously paranoid, especially at that level. And they are, if you ever wondered, yes, football coaches at that level, they are notoriously paranoid. And they said at times talking to Lemonis was kind of like talking to a football coach almost. He'd kind of developed this very, maybe even a looking over his shoulder, everybody's out to get him sort of thing. So I could absolutely see it. More Bully texts the show, says, seems par for the course, no midweek games during exam week. Is that what this is? Now, how does More Bully know that it's exam week? And does everybody take exams at the same time? I guess that's what it is. Okay, so Southern Miss is not playing a midweek this week. State's not, I guess. So is it exam week for the colleges in Mississippi? Well, that's a piece of information I didn't previously have. More Bully. Thank you. I am now a little more educated, a little more enlightened. All right, it is. It is, in fact, what Nick did earlier is, in fact, a Seinfeld reference. 𝗕𝗂𝗿𝗃𝗃, wealthy industrialist and philanthropist and a bicyclist, played by Kramer on Seinfeld. Okay. So what was it? What was the gig on the show? Supposedly that this character being played by this character had reference having something to do with Cinco de Mayo. See, I didn't even see it. I didn't even initially get the reference, and it's already funny. I mean, how do you write that stuff? It's just brilliant. How did they write that stuff? And White Denzel, look, there's a typo, but I know what you meant, so I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it the way you meant it on the Country Pleasing text line. 2 facts of the day, he says. Every horse except the late ad that ran in the Kentucky Derby on Saturday were all descendants of Secretariat. You know what? I halfway knew that, Denzel, because something popped up on Facebook, one of these things where it was showing that, and I sent it to Anna Beth. We watched the race. I didn't watch any of the before and after because, you talk about boring. I can't imagine people watching the before and after horse race stuff. I just don't. I mean, but hey, but the race is great. They line them up, and here they, like, number 21 was barely in there with the door shut, and boom, here they go. Loved it. Okay, the race was great. But the rest of it's just, I mean, surely we got something to do. But I digress. But I saw that on Facebook. She was really interested in it. I sent that to Annabeth. She was like, wow. I was like, I know. But the thing I was going to tell you, Denzel, is that particular meme or what, like that, the graphic that had that information on Facebook, it said every horse. It didn't make an exception for anybody. It just said every horse in the Kentucky Derby field, a descendant of Secretariat. And then, okay, here we go. Denzel says the Mets lost yesterday. That's not important. What is important is that it was game 34. It says they have now lost 16 game 34s in a row. Denzel, like, who keeps up with that? So you're saying for 16 straight years, the Mets have lost their 34th game of the year. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right, more with you on this Reaction Monday. In the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio, Farm Bureau, go with the home team. Stick around.
I'm 𝗕𝗂𝗿𝗂𝗂 with Washington County Farm Bureau Insurance.
I'm Scott Rainwater with Farm Bureau Insurance here in Washington County.
I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau.
I'm Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
I think you know what time it is. It's time to eat. Country pleasing, jalapeno and cheddar, green onion. And no, it's not a grill, see that? But the fire is just about burnt down enough where it's time to put some of this on there. And the only decision when it comes to country pleasing sausage is which flavor, jalapeno and cheddar or maybe green onion. Both. Break me off a piece of that. Look at that. You know what that is? That's real green onion. Like that monkey who set his tail on a railroad track. It won't be long now. Country Pleasing sausage, these flavors, and many, many others. Get them online at countrypleasing.com. At a grocery store near you, pretty much anywhere in the Southeast. Walk up in there and say, Country Pleasing, please. They'll know what you're talking about.
Grew up on a family farm out past Leland, just born and raised here in the Mississippi Delta. Never really thought about moving out. It's where it's where my roots are. Our family's a big sports family. It was 4 boys and 1 girl, and all 4 of us boys went and played ball at Delta Community College. My dad, he's always been honestly a role model of mine. He's farmed his whole life. We attend St. James Catholic Church in Leland, where we went to church my whole life, and then now continuing my family, me and my wife and my 3 kids. Being a Christian is everything for me and my family. Being born and raised here in this area, there's just something about this area. I mean, when you pull into it, you don't see a whole lot, but being born and raised here and the farm families and just the people that grew up here, the people that you see here, you see in the grocery store, you go to church with, small town community, you're gonna run into people that you know. It puts a smile on your face knowing that you know the people in your area, in your community. Get to know them as friends and now bring them in to my office here and creating that relationship, extending it on, getting them as insureds, as customers of mine, who I call friend. I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau, and we are the home team.
Y'all have heard me talk about Murray West and murraywest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are. Contract embroidery company here in Mississippi. Started back in 1996, family owned. They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit their place up in New Albany. Let me show you a little bit about it. I say they do quality stuff. They really do. And so custom apparel, team stuff, I mean, really and truly, just about every high school in the state is sending their embroidered, team gear, jackets, shirts, hats, stuff. Baseball teams, football teams, they're sending it to the folks at Murray West in New Albany. You go to their website, murraywest.com, you go to the bottom, you can kind of see some of the Prairie Wildlife, Ole Miss Athletics, Gentile, others.
1059.com.
Back with you. Turn your mic on, Matt. Back with you in the Bureau. Thing about taking your headphones off is you start talking into the mic, you have no idea if it's on or not. Little radio tip there for all you beginners. Welcome in to the Bureau. That is the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau Insurance, go with the home team. I would just like to tip my cap to my local, my local Farm Bureau Insurance agent, Mark Ewan, in Lee County, because we recently had a thing where we had to put a new vehicle added, onto our auto insurance, and it was incredibly easy. All I had to do was I texted him. He's like, "What's up?" I said, "Hey, I got to put this vehicle right here on my insurance, get what I need to do." He said, "Text me pictures of, the vehicle on all 4 sides. Text me the VIN. I need this piece of paper. You can email it to me. I'm going to email you this thing back. You sign it via email and be done." I'm talking about, and within an hour, I'm clicking on things in an email, send it to him. He texts me. He's like, "I got it. We're good." Daddy. And I just remember thinking, okay, of everything involved in the process of this new vehicle, the easiest thing was dealing with Mark and Farm Bureau Insurance to get the insurance on it. The easiest thing involved with the whole process was the insurance part of it. And, and I can't be convinced that most of that ease isn't just from the fact that I know him. Okay, he lives here. He's an Ole Miss fan, but he's a really good guy. Okay. He is. And he lives here, and then I can just text him out of the blue, and he's like, "What do you need?" Okay, we'll do it. And I don't have to call 800 numbers and sit on hold and stuff like that. So I'm singing their praises once again, as has been the case for a long, long time for our family. We have been unable to go wrong with home, life, auto at Farm Bureau Insurance here in Mississippi. Yeah, Jason, give us a call. The number to call the show on the Divini Equipment phone line is 897-1059. That's a 601 number, 897-1059. Yeah, Denzel, that was a great stat. The Mets in their 34th game of the year. Game 34, you can just bet on it, right? Just keep on betting on it. All right, let's see. Let me catch up to what Sven is saying here on YouTube. He's tuning in over there in Germany. Sven, it's always good to hear from you. Thank you. He says, first off, he says softball SEC tournament starts Tuesday from Athens, Georgia. Baseball in Hoover says we're going to play Florida in round 1. If we win, it's the Tennessee Vols in round 2. But they haven't already made that out, right? I mean, that's Sven, I guess that would be the SEC tournament if it started today. Gotcha. I was talking to my dad last night. I think he's going to go to the SEC tournament in baseball again. I used to love going to that thing every year. Sven also said 2 things stood out this weekend. So the good was that State finally played up to their potential. And says the bad was that what is this? The bad was that you didn't have any sort of broadcast of the top 25 matchup in softball. I would know, but I'll tell you this again. I listened to Neil broadcasting baseball this weekend. I've kind of gotten accustomed to just doing other things, and I turn that phone on and stream the game on my phone and just listen to Neil broadcast it. It's so convenient. I mean, it really, you don't have to stop doing anything. Don't even have to sit still, and he does such a good job. I mean, he is so smooth, and it's like every little tidbit piece of information I need so that I can picture this game in my head. And then it's even that much more entertaining when you got Jay and Coach Polk. I was listening to Coach Polk yesterday. I think I did hear Coach Polk yawn one time, but I think it was only once. Yeah, but every now and then he'll yawn. He'll get a little sleepy up there. But hey, it's a long game. I mean, sometimes we all yawn. Yeah, Sven said play of the week, Michael O'Brien's home run steal in Game 3 against Kentucky. That was the closest thing to MLB I ever saw in center field. Yeah, I mean, there's just you will not see a better one. Had to run a long way, had to really get up. Like he's up there, knuckles on the rim, and if he's in the gym and robbing that thing from over the fence. It was a beautiful, beautiful play. I mean, that's probably the defensive play of the weekend, wouldn't you say? I'd say it is. So no midweek, and then and then baseball this weekend. Now see where Hunter Hines hit another home run this weekend. Drove one out to the plaza. See, is he leading the team? Let me look it up for you. Hang on. I got a text from Buddy. He wants to know if he's leading the team in home runs. Hang on a second. Got stats right here. And no. If I'm looking at this right, Hines has hit 11 this year. That was his 11th. So he's tied with Noah Sullivan. They have 11 home runs apiece. All right. The most on the team right now is Ace Reese, who's hit 16 home runs. You know what? Is this me being dumb? Or is this surprisingly few? that as a team, State has 4 triples all year long. I mean, so you've played what, 48 games? Yeah. You've played 48 games this year. And you got 4 triples. Isn't that not very many? They got 102 doubles. They've hit 80 home runs as a team. You got 4 triples. Yeah, so home run leaders. You got Ace Reese with 16. Sullivan and Hines each with 11. You got Stallman with 9. Downs has hit 7. A lot of those early. Fry's come to life lately. He's got 6 on the year. Then you have Nolan Stevens has hit 4. I'm sorry, I skipped 1. Powell's hit 5. Joe Powell's hit 5. A lot of those recent. Okay, then you got Stevens with 4. A group of players have hit 3 home runs. Bryce Chance, Sawyer Reeves. Who else has hit 3? And Highfield, he's hit 3. And then a group of players that have a single home run each. That'd be Cup's hit 1. Who's the other one? There's one more. Yeah. So what about those triples? See, now you got me wondering if I need to look that up to just see if they're at the bottom of the league in triples. As you know, I don't know how much that matters, if at all. I'm just curious. And if we can't be curious on a Monday, then when can we be? When can we be curious? I'm going to look it up here. Let's see. Unnamed texter says, Matt, you do realize that State is on terrestrial radio, no streaming needed. Okay, well, but here's the thing. Yes, for me, but Sven, okay, first of all, Sven's in Germany, so streaming matters to him, not really. For me, yeah, it's on radio. But what I'm saying is, if I'm not in the car, I just need it on my phone. That's it. Because, I mean, my phone is the connection. You know, and this ain't looking for some way to brag on C-Spire, but they got me, man. My signal, I don't need Wi-Fi. In the state of Mississippi, it's super strong signal wherever I go. I can even be going up and down an Natchez Trace, and I can pull out my phone from C-Spire. If I, you know, so I've almost gotten accustomed to, I can find things easier that way when I'm not in the car. Now, when I'm in the car, for the most part, it's just, yeah, I know which radio stations depending on where I am. But if I'm not in the car, I'll just pull out my phone and stream it. We have 4 triples all year long in 48 games. Just does not seem like very many to me. And again, they hit home runs and they're way up over 100 doubles. Yeah. 4 triples by State this year in 48 games is tied for last in the SEC with Auburn, who only has 4. For example, Oklahoma's got 17 triples. I mean, Vandy 14, Missouri 13, Kentucky 10. I think my buddy Craig said Kentucky had 5 triples this weekend. It's just one of those things. I don't think it means anything. It's just one of those deals. All right, hour 2 coming up after this. Stick around.
I'm Eddie Holcomb with Washington County Farm Bureau Insurance.
I'm Scott Rainwater with Farm Bureau Insurance here in Washington County.
I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau.
I'm Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
Y'all heard me talk about Murray West and murraywest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are. Contract embroidery company here in Mississippi. Started back in 1996, family owned. They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit their place up in New Albany. Let me show you a little bit about it.
say they do quality stuff, they really do. And so custom apparel, team stuff, I mean, really and truly, just about every high school in the state is sending their embroidered, you know, team gear, jackets, shirts, hats, stuff. Baseball teams, football teams, they're sending it to the folks at Murray West in New Albany. You go to their website, murraywest.com, you go to the bottom, you can kind of see some of the Prairie Wildlife, Ole Miss Athletics, Gentile, others that they work with. Can't recommend them enough. If you need your logo printed, embroidered, sewn on to anything, custom apparel and other stuff, make sure you go there. Murray West, you can find them online, murraywest.com. That's MURRY West.com.
I had this opportunity come up to a friend of mine that was an agent here at Farm Bureau that, you know, he said this may be something I like to do because he knew I was involved in the community. And what we do, we're supporting the community. We're doing stuff to protect the members of our community. I've been here almost a decade. And what we do, we help people every day through the products we sell. We make recommendations to them, stuff to protect their assets, protect their lives, their families, and you know, we're local. We're local people. Everybody that works in this office has grown up here, lived here, played ball in this community. I've coached in this community, been on the park boards, the sports league boards, the booster club boards. The community is what's important here in Farm Bureau. We push the local community. We're a Mississippi company. That's a Washington School team ball from 2019. Greg Wallace was the head coach then, and him and I were really good friends. I've been in Greenville my whole entire life. My family's been here. This is home. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to support the people of Washington County, protect them. I'm Scott Rainwater with Farm Bureau Insurance here in Washington County. We are the home team.
I think you know what time it is. It's time to eat. Country pleasing, jalapeno and cheddar, green onion. And no, it's not a grill, see that? But the fire is just about burnt down enough where it's time to put some of this on there. And the only decision when it comes to country pleasing sausage is which flavor, jalapeno and cheddar or maybe green onion. Both.
Break me off a piece of that.
Look at that. You know what that is? That's real green onion. Like that monkey who set his tail on a railroad track. It won't be long now. Country pleasing sausage, these flavors, and many, many others. Get them online at countrypleasing.com. At a grocery store near you, pretty much anywhere in the Southeast. Walk up in there and say, "Country pleasing, please." They'll know what you're talking about.
I knew it. Let's meet up later to celebrate.
And Diego.
Mom! I got first place at the science fair with my volcano project.
That's amazing, sweetie. Congratulations.
Because when people are fed, futures are nourished, and everyone deserves to live a full life. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/actnow. feedingamerica.org/actnow. A public service announcement brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
I think my biggest challenge was getting through to him to understand that love is real and you have goals in mind, you have things that want to happen, and I want to help you get there.
Sometimes people tend to shy away from wanting to adopt teenagers because they feel like they've lost so much, but there's still so much to gain.
Just knowing that there's just that other person that cares and loves me out there, it feels great. And they've done so much for me, and I can only be appreciative every single day for just having them in my life.
I think it's been the best decision because I gained a son, and he's the best son ever. If I was down and out, he'd be there.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more. A message brought to you by Adopt U.S. Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
WRKS Pickens Jackson.
We are good to go.
With more of the Matt Wyatt Show. Coming to you direct and live at the Zone 105.9 and worldwide.
Now, here we go.
At the Zone 105.9.com.
Back. Let's go. Hour number 2 of the show, off and running with you in the Bureau. That is the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau Insurance. Go! With the home team. They are your home team at Farm Bureau Insurance all across the great state of Mississippi. Hometown heroes. That's your local Farm Bureau Insurance agents. All right. Get on in here. You can text me on the Country Pleasing text line. Country Pleasing sausage on grocery store shelves all around the Southeast. It's the best. There's a period at the end of that sentence. 885-3776. That's the number to text. It's a 601 number, and if you text that number, I'll get it. Here it is. Again. 885-3776. Hang on. Let me drink this coffee. Hang on a minute. Oh, yeah. Hot coffee. High Point Roasters in New Albany, Mississippi. Go to highpointroasters.com. Get you some big 1-pound bags of it. So it might be $1 or $2 more, but it's worth it. You're not going to run out anytime soon. And it's also worth it. It tastes better. Look here. Fill her up. That's what I'll do too. It's like if you comment or call or text, it's like being a part of the show that way. And it's like sitting down at the table with us. We'll fill your mug with some High Point Roasters coffee. You can also call me on the Davini phone. Number to call is 897-1059, 601 number, 897-1059. What did Jason say? He said, haha, that's why I listened to him. He said, easy, Coach Polk going on a 6-minute diatribe about stuff like the new high-tech oscillating space heater in the press box. I heard him say that one time yesterday. He said, we're high tech. And I don't remember what it was in regards to the, I mean, it is just, he is an absolute gem. And I plan to, Jason, and I hope you do, and everybody plans to honor him and listen to him as much as we can. While we got him. He is something else. And the thing about it is, Jason, too, it's all mixed in there with just incredible baseball knowledge, right? Do you get that too? Like when I hear, like Coach Polk, he'll make these little offhand comments, and to him, they're so insignificant and just taken for granted that he'll sometimes just mumble them out. This is first and third situation, less than 2 outs. This is what you get. And he spits it out, and I'm going, wait a minute. What? Oh, it makes perfect sense. It's brilliant. And he's like a baseball computer. He's like baseball Google. One little prompt, and he's like, there's the answer. And if you listen to those things, it's like going to school. I love it. Yeah. So, maybe I'm a little biased too. I mean, because I know him personally. Coach Polk, I'm just, on a personal level, I'm so fond of him. It's like he's adopted me as a baseball guy. Really. I didn't play for him. I wanted to. I talked to him about it when I was in school. Couldn't get everything synced up. But it's like you know how you hear stories about how Coach Polk has this incredible routine of birthday cards and birthday phone calls and stuff, and staying in contact and with anybody who's ever come through his program. Listen, he does that with me too. So I'm a little biased there. And Neil, I'm just telling you. So Neil and I are friends. We're friends first. If Neil quit tomorrow, said I'm done, and went to work for Farm Bureau Insurance or something. He'd be a millionaire, by the way. But if he wanted to do that, Neil's one of those guys that's going to be successful at whatever he decides to do. But if he did, okay, we're friends first. Well, I'd still call him all the time, text him all the time, bug him. Anytime I came across something on social media regarding wrestling from back in the day that's funny, I'd text it to him, you know. So we're friends first, but man, I could listen to Neil do play-by-play for like polo, croquet, checkers. I still, he's that good to me. So then you get Jay Powell, who, okay, again, you know, I consider Jay a friend. I just like the guy. You know, every time I've been around him, you can't help but like him. I get the feeling like whatever team Jay has ever been on, I would like to have been on that team in whatever sport. He's that kind of guy. And then I admire him so much. Big, tall, strong rascal who won a World Series. I mean, pitched in Game 7. You know, not to mention was a first-round pick. And when he starts talking baseball and pitching and strategy, again, it's like listening to Coach Polk. It's like I wish he would slow down so I could write it down. You know, I really hope that we as State fans realize just how fortunate we are when it comes to listening to these guys call baseball on the radio, because it is just, it can't get from every angle that you might like it, from, you know, a little comic relief here and there, coaching, playing, broadcasting. It just can't get much better than what we've got it right now. I know I'm bragging on them. I guess don't go run and tell them that I was doting on them on the radio. Just this be between us. Oh, and the stats. All right, hang on. Yeah, see, that's it. Sven knows it. Jay, World Series champ, winner, pitched to Tony Gwynn. Okay, again, I am not a person who, I'm not a starstruck person. I don't have that gene where you get starstruck and kind of go goo goo gaga around a famous person, or you change the way you act, or you clam up because, you know, a movie star walks by. I didn't get that, right? But so I don't get starstruck, but I'm just saying, sometimes I'll be talking to Jay and I'll stop hearing what he's saying. And in my head, I'll look at him thinking, man, this man right here stood on the mound and pitched to Tony Gwynn. I can't, how cool is that? Anyway. Okay, the stats. My buddy texted me about the stats. Okay, yeah, that was the number. If you were not listening in hour one, I was looking at something. Home runs hit. So Hunter Hines hit his 11th this weekend for State in the sweep of Kentucky, but he's second on the team. Reese has got 16. Hines and Sullivan each have 11. So I was looking at that, and then looked at the overall numbers. This whatever it is, 80-something home runs or whatever. 100 and something doubles on the year for State. Here are the numbers. Yeah, 80 home runs, 102 doubles. They've hit a grand total of 4 triples all year, and it just struck me as they play 48 games, State's hit 4 triples. It's a neither here nor there stat. I don't think it really means anything. The number of triples is just unusually low for a good offensive team. You got 4 triples all year in 40, and they're tied for last in the league in triples with Auburn, who also have 4. But you got teams like, see, again, it's not a here nor there stat, meaning it doesn't. I just don't think it's a stat that really means anything, wins or losses. For example, Missouri, one of the worst SEC baseball teams in the history of the league, and that is not an overstatement. They've got 13 triples this year. Now, they only have 45 home runs, about half what State's got. But you see what I mean? It doesn't mean anything. But still, it's just one of those unusual, well, that's weird type of deals. So I started looking at the stats. saying, well, State is a good offensive team, aren't they? And they are. So listen to this. As it stands right here, they just swept Kentucky, and here they are trying to do something miraculous with an interim coach in Parker, which we will get to the question of what if. In fact, I'll go ahead and throw it out there because you might want to go ahead and text it and I'll read it. The question is, what if? What if State goes on this run? They just swept Kentucky at home. What if they get a series win over Ole Miss this weekend and win that last midweek? And what if they go up there and sweep Missouri? What if? Under Parker. Go on some kind of magical run where they lose one game under him, get into the postseason, make a little noise, become dangerous. What if they do all that? Will they hire Justin Parker as the head coach of Mississippi State baseball? Should they? So play the what if game. You can text me your answer on the Country Pleasing text line. The number is 885-3776, 601 number, 885-3776. It's just a what if. What do you think? But while you do that, I'm looking here. Baseball numbers for State as it stands right now through 48 games. They are third in the SEC in hitting. In fact, State is one of 5 teams whose team batting average is over 300 in the entire league. So, yes, they are a good offensive team. There's no doubt. There's no way around it. This is a good offensive team at State. Now, Arkansas has got the best team batting average in the league at 316. Then you got LSU at 306 and State at 305. And in Florida and Tennessee, both at 304. So those are your 5 teams batting over 300 as a team. All right? What about power? Let's look at it here. Georgia leads the SEC in home runs with 119. Then it's Tennessee and Arkansas tied with 102 home runs. Ole Miss then has hit 88. And then it's Mississippi State and Florida who've hit 80. So you're tied for, 4th or 5th in the SEC with 80 home runs in terms of hitting for power. Doubles, they're 3rd in the SEC in doubles. So we're talking about extra base hits now, but again, this is just stats. It's not wins and losses, and those things don't always run concurrent, especially in baseball. But Texas leads the league with 112 doubles. LSU 107, State's hit 102. Those are your 3 teams with more than 100 doubles as a team this year. LSU, Texas, and Mississippi State. You could go more numbers and do slugging percentage and all that kind of stuff if you wanted to, but as you see now, what about strikeouts? Well, yeah, pretty reasonable there. State, there's a bunch of teams around the league that are striking out more than State is, including some of these other really good teams. What about just straight up speed? They're pretty average. Really, State is in terms of the number of times they run. You're talking about stolen base attempts. They've got 56 attempts, and they've stolen 40 of them. That's I'm sorry, I'm wrong. They've got 48 stolen base attempts, and they've stolen 40 of them. But those 48 stolen base attempts are a lot fewer than a lot of their teams. It's middle or later in the pack. So again, when you look at offensive numbers, it is a good offensive team. They're up there. Okay, and then pitching it. And as we know, starting pitching, whatever, but it's really issues in the pen and Sundays and that kind of thing that really has skewed State and hurt them. But still, overall team ERA, they're in the top half of the league. They're in the top 7 or so of the league. Team ERA. What about strikeouts from a pitching standpoint? They're way up there. kind of jumping around here. Let's see. Team strikeouts, they're at 522 as a staff. That's tied with Georgia. They've also got 522. A few more than Florida. So if I'm looking at this right, looks like Vandy leads the league in strikeouts as a pitching staff at 555. LSU right behind them at 551. But then it's State and Georgia tied for third at 522. From a pitching standpoint, a lot of swing and miss. Penn has been suspect, but still overall numbers and ERA, you're up there in the top half of the league. And really, okay, after the last couple of weeks, I guess I probably need to go back and, readdress this with a couple of people. Because after Coach Lemonis was fired, I was talking with friends who are State fans and stuff, and I just kept saying, they've had a lot of issues with what seemed to be fundamental things, base running, fielding ground balls, throwing people out, defending bunts, first and third, and all that, which seems to be fundamental stuff, which if it's fundamental, it's really just about how much you've worked on it. Have you really worked on it? Have you put the time in? Well, and I did say to a couple people, listen, they're last in the league in fielding. Like, they're the worst fielding team. And I had a couple people go, oh, really? I'm like, yeah, they're last. Well, they're not anymore because as of today, they are 4 spots out of the bottom in terms of fielding percentage. So at one time this year, and we quoted it earlier in the year, they were 16 out of 16 in fielding and just fielding percentage. It wasn't a total numbers of errors type thing. But now they, whether or not it's improved and others have fallen back, I don't know. But I do know that right now Ole Miss and State are both at a 973 fielding percentage, which is going to be 13th out of 16. Below them, Tennessee's fallen down there at a 971 fielding clip and may have a lot to do with sort of their precipitous fall here recently at Tennessee. A&M at a 970, and Missouri is now the worst fielding team in the league. No surprise there at 964. So, of all those. But then again, we were talking about offense, which, a lot of these specific offensive stats would run in line with what you're seeing from State, overall. But in terms of hits, they're third in the league, just in terms of number of hits. We went over the average. Slugging percentage, they're 4th in the league. They're in the top 5 right there. They're in the top half of the league in on base. Mentioned doubles and home runs. They're 3rd in the league in doubles. They're 5th in the SEC in home runs. Now they're at the bottom at triples, but I don't think it matters. Missouri's way up there in triples. Total bases, they're in the top 5. Doing a lot of good things and have done throughout the year. And so you go, well, what's the issue? Well, I don't know if you could clamp it down for the better part of the year, just a couple things, but one would be what? The grit, whatever grit and competitiveness it takes to win a one-run type of ball game late. Their opponents have, and they haven't. Now, this weekend they did against Kentucky in the 11th inning. What's the difference? When you're out trying to get in, a sweep at home versus 2 out of 3 is all the difference, right? So whatever that is, and then guys coming in out of the pen and shutting people down. You look at it. Somebody else posted about that this morning, one of these baseball accounts, and not a State one, but one of these that follows college baseball. And I thought, yeah. But they pointed to Texas A&M and State and another team maybe that had been left for dead early in the year, but don't look now. And all of a sudden they're knocking on the door of getting into the field. And the type of baseball they're playing now, A&M just took 2 out of 3 from LSU. The way they're playing now, even if they squeeze in somewhere and legitimately are somebody's 3 or 4, nobody's going to want to see them coming. If State keeps it up, that might be what we're talking about. Again, that's a big if State keeps it up. Is Ole Miss capable of going to State and winning the series? You bet. but it's a if. But if State keeps it up, they're going to play themselves in. Nobody's going to want to see them coming to their regional. And you're going to have Parker sitting there as your interim, who has captained all this. And anyone who wanted to just automatically scratch through it and write it off as any possibility that he would be hired as your head coach of state baseball going forward is going to have to go, well, I don't know if I can just discount it anymore. Really. All right, over to the text line, the Country Pleasing text line. Country Pleasing sausage on grocery store shelves all around the Southeast. Jason texted, he said, listening to Jay that whole 2022 season talking about all those freshmen is almost entirely why I wasn't on the Fire Lamonis train back then. Said he would go into technical detail about how close that team was, especially the amphibian pitcher, and he was right. Yeah, the ambidextrous pitcher. Who's what now? He's 2 steps away from Major League Baseball. One of the top prospects in the Mariners' entire organization now. Unnamed texter said, we had a huge jump in RPI this week. Next week's midweek is an absolute RPI killer. What's your thoughts on that? It is. It definitely is. Well, the whole last week. Okay, a midweek at home with UNA, and then, you know, yes, it's on the road, but on the road at Missouri, those last 4 games are absolute RPI killers, which, you know, again, so the Kentucky sweep and with Ole Miss coming in, it's really your only chance to help yourself, because you can win all those last ones and you're still hurt and just going to have to sit there and wait. A lot of ifs, a lot of water's got to go under the bridge between now and then, though. All right, more of your texts coming up. Stick around.
Do you really need to study game
I'm
film?
𝗠𝗶𝘀𝘀𝗶𝗀𝗂 with Washington County Farm Bureau Insurance.
I'm Scott Rainwater with Farm Bureau Insurance here in Washington County.
I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau.
I'm Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
Y'all have heard me talk about Murray West and MurrayWest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are. Contract embroidery company here in Mississippi. Started back in 1996, family owned. They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit their place up in New Albany. Let me show you a little bit about it. I say they do quality stuff. They really do. And so custom apparel, team stuff, I mean, really and truly, just about every high school in the state is sending their embroidered, you know, team gear, jackets, shirts, hats, stuff. Baseball teams, football teams, they're sending it to the folks at Murray West in New Albany. You go to their website, MurrayWest.com, you go to the bottom, you can kind of see some of the Prairie Wildlife, Ole Miss Athletics, Gentile, others that they work with. Can't recommend them enough. If you need your logo printed, embroidered, sewn on to anything, custom apparel and other stuff, make sure you go there. Murray West, you can find them online. MurrayWest.com. That's MURRY West.com.
I had this opportunity come up through a friend of mine that was an agent here at Farm Bureau that, you know, he said this may be something I like to do because he knew I was involved in the community, and what we do, we're supporting the community. We're doing stuff to protect the members of our community. I've been here almost a decade, and what we do, we help people every day through the products we sell. We make recommendations to them, stuff to protect their assets, protect their lives, their families, and, you know, we're local. We're local people. Everybody that works in this office has grown up here, lived here, played ball in this community. I've coached in this community, been on the park boards, the sports league boards, the booster club boards. The community is what's important here in Farm Bureau. We push the local community. We're a Mississippi company. That's a Washington School team ball from 2019. Greg Wallace was the head coach then, and him and I were really good friends. I've been in Greenville my whole entire life. My family's been here. This is home. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to support the people of Washington County, protect them. I'm Scott Rainwater with Farm Bureau Insurance here in Washington County. We are the home team.
I think you know what time it is. It's time to eat. Country pleasing, jalapeno and cheddar, green onion. And no, it's not a grill, see that? But the fire is just about burnt down enough where it's time to put some of this on there. And the only decision when it comes to country pleasing sausage is which flavor, jalapeno and cheddar or maybe green onion. Both.
Break me off a piece of that.
Look at that. What that is. That's real green onion. Like that monkey who set his tail on a railroad track. It won't be long now. Country pleasing sausage, these flavors, and many, many others. Get them online at countrypleasing.com. At a grocery store near you, pretty much anywhere in the Southeast. Walk up in there and say.
All right, back with you. I'm Matt in the Bureau, the Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Let's see. Sven says Ole Miss was last in 2022, and guess what? They won the whole thing. Florida was the same thing in 2023, and was only stopped by Paul Skeens and the Bayou boys from LSU. Yeah, so that's right. So Ole Miss finished in 22, the year they won the College World Series, they finished last in the SEC. Surely not last, but they were the last team in, right? That was the deal. They were the last team to squeeze in and then went and won the whole thing. It's just incredible. Just incredible. Bill, my man. One of Coach Ward's young'uns. What's up? Thanks for saying hello. This coach is all in that family. One of them just won a state championship, too. He's on YouTube, by the way. He's watching on YouTube. All right, Jared on Facebook says, everyone should be happy if they do keep the current staff and not demand their thirst for a, quote, big name that would bring their own guys and push out Parker, Gotro, Cheese, and other coaches. Jared says, I'd like to ask every state fan to pump the brakes on their Lamonis comments, because even Parker is saying it's business as usual and the players are just stepping up and winning battles. I have no issue with the change, but I do take issue with fans that can't be more respectful and exemplary of the, let's see, the last of it got cut off there, Jared. I don't know. I didn't think there was a word limit, but maybe there is. Yeah. And the biggest thing, is what it is. Coaching search stuff going on. There's plenty of time to figure all that out. And some of those ifs, really and truly, to some degree, don't you have to let it play out? I know you do the firing then, and you're like, some people are like, well, it helps you get a head start. Well, does it really? Because anybody you're going to be talking to or want to talk to is coaching somewhere else right now. So, maybe not. Don't you got to let it play out? You have to. Yeah, that was the other one, was Florida. Bill said it. I said I'd seen where somebody mentioned State, A&M, Florida, the three teams that they were left for dead, and all of a sudden they're hot. Best 60. Says A&M. He said A&M, Florida State are definitely some of the best 64 teams in the country, don't you think? Well, they certainly are playing like it right now. But the thing about it is, I think I look at it practically, and I understand the RPI deal, and you got some automatics from conferences that's part of their deal. The makeup of that 64 is there are certain conferences they're going to get the champion in there. Whether they're a better team or even more deserving than an SEC team or not, they're getting the spot, so that's kind of the way it works. Yeah, okay, Sven says Ole Miss was team 63, went to the regionals out of 64 and won it all in 2022. It's just, worst to first, Cinderella, whatever you want to call that. All right, back over to the text line, the country pleasing text line. This is John. He said, that's what makes state baseball so special is players, coaches, and announcers that have been a part of the program. Not just the success, but the characters that have built it up over the years. Yeah, I think so. There's something to that, right? There's definitely something to that. Agree with you, John. All right, Jason said, no. They won't hire Parker even if they get to Omaha. He says the people who I feel sabotaged Lamonis' program to some degree and wanted him fired before he could possibly get a run going will throw a fit if a big name isn't hired. That's what he said. What do y'all think? Again, it's like, okay, Jason, I can certainly see what you're saying, but what I'm going is like straight hypothetical, straight up 100% hypothetical of the biggest what if you could have. Okay. And again, sometimes when you can tell people you're making it up as a hypothetical just for a discussion as much as you want, and then still some people still get mad at you and roll their eyes. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it has happened before. Just like Sven referenced the Ole Miss team in 22. 64 teams got in there, they're like the 63rd, and then they win the whole thing. What if State squeezes in and then goes on a magical run? What if they're one of the last few standing in Omaha? What if? It's happened before, could happen again. And if Parker's driving a bus on that whole thing, and it plays out that way, if it plays out that way, how do you not reconsider? How does everyone not reconsider? If you're the athletics director, how do you not? You got information then that you don't have now that changes how you evaluate stuff. I would think. That's what I would think. I don't know that, but that's what I would think. And then the other side of it, too, that we probably don't discuss a lot is they all have agents. Okay? And, and if an agent's got a guy who in an interim takes somebody to a national championship or close to it, boy, howdy, it's going to be different dealing with that agent. Real C texted the show on the country pleasing text line. Said Parker did great in his first week. I sincerely hope we as fans don't get convinced too soon emotionally. Says need to be diligent about the search. A coach equally great with portal and NIL as much as coaching. Real C said, I do hope all the current assistants stay on. And then he said, also take Mingione off any prospective candidate list. 1, he says, no way worth the money. 2, that team did way too much silly stuff. Reminded me of the Tulane team that came into Starkville several years ago. A lot of yapping and classless mess. Don't need that kind of stuff at State. Really surprised me, honestly, that Mingione would allow that stuff. Well, here's what I would say, Real C, and I sort of alluded to some of that the first time his name came up in regards to the opening at State, is I love the job that he's done at Kentucky. I love the way he's recruited at Kentucky. Okay. And, the little bit of time that I spent around Nick when he was on Cohen's staff at State, he's just, every room he goes into brightens up. I can just see, like, every meeting he's a part of is more positive because he's there. He's one of the, John said about him, I could give him encyclopedias, send him to any street corner in America and tell him I need him to sell those and turn a profit, and he'll do it. I have no doubt that he'd do it. He's that kind of guy. Okay, love all of that stuff. But the one thing to me was, there was always some sort of shenanigans going on a lot. It seems like with his team, like a kind of like a Tennessee type thing where it's always pushing and shoving with an opponent, always jawing at the other dugout, always some kind of weird, just stuff that you don't want. And stuff you'd go, well, if he was at State, he wouldn't do that. Well, you don't really know. And a lot of that, I'm like you, like, major turnoff. And what I kind of hope, and I don't know this, this is a really old guy, get off my lawn thought right here in perspective. But I almost kind of hope that a lot of these coaches in the college game right now that allow that kind of crap, I mean, flip your bat on the way to first base after drawing a walk. I mean, come on. That allow and put up with that kind of stuff, that it would actually become a negative in coaching searches. Meaning coaches who allow that kind of thing are hurting their chances of getting that next job they want to get. And it becomes like a universally understood thing in coaching and agent circles, so that it will filter down where coaches will start cutting it out. Look, man, I'm your agent. I'm out here not, trying to get you this job and stuff, but you got to handle your team, okay? Because these future jobs, if you got a clown show in your dugout, it hurts your chances. That's my hope. That's really what I hope. I hope that happens. But I don't know. All right. A little bit of time left with you on this Reaction Monday. We come back. Lots of texts to get to and whatnot. All that coming up back after this.
I'm Eddie Holcomb with Washington County Farm Bureau Insurance.
I'm Scott Rainwater with Farm Bureau Insurance here in Washington County.
I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau.
I'm Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
Y'all have heard me talk about Murray West and murraywest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are. Contract embroidery company here in Mississippi. Started back in 1996, family owned. They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit their place up in New Albany. Let me show you a little bit about it. When I say they do quality stuff, they really do. And so custom apparel, team stuff, I mean, really and truly, just about every high school in the state is sending their embroidered, team gear, jackets, shirts, hats, stuff. Baseball teams, football teams, they're sending it to the folks at Murray West in New Albany. You go to their website, murraywest.com, you go to the bottom, you can kind of see some of the Prairie Wildlife, Ole Miss Athletics, Gentile, others that they work with. Can't recommend them enough. If you need your logo printed, embroidered, sewn on to anything, custom apparel, and other stuff. Make sure you go there. Murray West. You can find them online. MurrayWest.com. That's MURRY West.com.
I had this opportunity come up through a friend of mine that was an agent here at Farm Bureau that, you know, he said this may be something I like to do because he knew I was involved in the community. And what we do, we're supporting the community. We're doing stuff to protect the members of our community. I've been here almost a decade. And what we do, we help people every day through the products we sell. We make recommendations to them, stuff to protect their assets, protect their lives, their families, and you know, we're local. We're local people. Everybody that works in this office has grown up here, lived here, played ball in this community. I've coached in this community, been on the park boards, the sports league boards, the booster club boards. The community is what's important here in Farm Bureau. We push the local community. We're a Mississippi company. That's a Washington School team ball from 2019. Greg Wallace was the head coach then, and him and I were really good friends. I've been in Greenville my whole entire life. My family's been here. This is home. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to support the people of Washington County, protect them. I'm Scott Rainwater with Farm Bureau Insurance here in Washington County. We are the home team.
I think you know what time it is. It's time to eat. Country pleasing, jalapeno and cheddar, green onion. And no, it's not a grill, see that? But the fire is just about burnt down enough where it's time to put some of this on there. And the only decision when it comes to country pleasing sausage is which flavor, jalapeno and cheddar or maybe green onion. Both.
Break me off a piece of that.
Look at that. Know what that is? That's real green onion. Like that monkey who set his tail on a railroad track. It won't be long now.
Starving. Don't worry, he's got a menu full on the Zone 105.9 and worldwide at thezone1059.com.
Back with you. I'm Matt in the Bureau, Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau, go with the home team. Boy, is that true? Sven says Texas is about to spend $50 million on their football team, according to 24/7 Sports. $1 million on their football. Well, and some of that, you know what, Sven? Some of that may be also protecting their previous investment in Arch Manning. And you're going to load the wagon while you got him. And, you know, purely from a football standpoint, I would tell you, my eyes tell me he's worth it. And so it might not be a bad idea. I like watching that guy play too. I think he's super. MSU 1980 said, Matt, I don't know if State would consider Justin Parker or not, but remember that Gary Henderson took over during the 2018 season, got State to the College World Series that year. He won some great games late in the year. State didn't hire him. Yeah, that's right. I understand it. I think it's true. You do have to take a long-term sort of approach. You do. And you know, you find out. But when life flips certain cards over for you that previously were turned over, you can see what's on them now. All I'm saying is there's, you know, you can do, if you wanted to do the Gary Henderson comparison for 2018, great. But see, Coach Henderson had a lot of previous head coaching experience at Kentucky. And therefore history with John Cohen, who was making the hire for the baseball coach. So there's different factors there. You know, this is a guy who hasn't been a head coach. And a lot of guys like Parker get that first head coaching job somewhere. Now, generally, they're not getting it at a place like State. But also, generally, they're not going from cold to hot in one flip of the switch. And if it happens, you just got to factor all that in. All right, let's see. What is this? Unnamed texter sent me, a Wall Street Journal article about Gerangelo Sanger. This was from just a couple of days ago. It obviously mentions him as a prospect in the Mariners organization who can throw 99 with his right hand and 93 with his left. He is something else now. Yeah, this is in reference to Jason's earlier text. ResDog said, wait, the fans sabotaged a 7-year coach and didn't give him time to turn it around. Come on, man. He says, this is getting embarrassing. Somebody else said, contrary to Jason, if Parker gets these guys to Omaha, give him the job, no doubt. J-Rock texted the show, said, did he say somebody sabotaged Chris Lemonis before he could get on a run? We gave him 4 years almost after the national championship. Almost 4 years. Jason in Flagstaff says, if it were up to me and they made a miraculous run, I'd absolutely hire him. Says, just like I would have hired Gary Henderson. He says, it ain't up to me, though. Kenny Don't Call Me Ken says, I say hire Parker because, he says, he, meaning Parker, never threw me out of the dude. And Real C says, what state needs as a head coach, if it could be a perfect mix? Augie Garrido from Motivational Speaker, Ron Polk, the skills coach, Lane Kiffin's portal skills, and Jake Mangum as the face of the program. Find that dude and says, I'll buy us a house in Omaha. What if you had to do 3 out of the 4? Which one of those you giving up? You can only do 3 out of the 4. Which one are you giving up? I'll tell you which one you're not giving up. Is skills coach and portal. I know that much right now. Well, let me see if this, I want to talk to Beaver. And earlier, somebody turned his microphone off. I'm going to try it one more time. And because I'm running out of time, let me see. Hang on. Hey, B.
Should be back in business now.
My man, how was your weekend?
It was all right. I watched the only 2 minutes of horse racing I watch a year.
Mm-hmm. Man, B, what does it say about me on the, like, in my soul and in my heart? That part of me got a real kick out of thinking that all those 100,000 people who get all dolled up and dressed up like something out of a magazine, wearing hats with flowers in them and BS like that, that they were standing out in the rain most of that day. I kind of enjoyed that. You know what I'm saying? What does it say about me, Dr.
It says
Beaver?
you don't like people that dress fancy. You don't like big hats either.
I'm against big hats. No, I'm really not. As long as they're practical. Beav, if you're like me and you've dealt with skin cancer and stuff like that, wear a big hat. That's fine. Do it. It just needs to be practical. Don't walk out there putting one on because it matches your stupid tie. I don't do that stuff. Beaver, I want to tell you before the day is over. Today, May the 5th, along with Cinco de Mayo, it is also National Hoagie Day. Did you know this?
I didn't.
Okay. If I say to you, you're going to get a hoagie. What is a hoagie? How would you define what a hoagie is, Beaver? How would you define it?
You want just hoagies or hoagies and grinders?
Atta baby.
It's just a long sandwich.
Okay.
That's the way I'd say it.
There it is. They call it a sub, a grinder, whatever. But Subway sub. So the next question is this. you're going to run out and get a hoagie, a sub. You can only get them, though, from one place for the rest of your life. You must choose one hoagie provider for the rest of your life. What are you choosing?
Okay, that's tough because you know how much I love Jersey Mike's. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you what, I've been alternating with Firehouse lately. They're pretty quality.
Okay.
Oh, I gotta stay true because I've been with Jersey Mike's for some years now.
I think that's what I'd say too. I think that's what I'd say is Jersey Mike's. Okay, here's another one for you. You can have Jersey Mike's for the rest of your life. You can get, one free hoagie a week for the rest of your life. The only stipulation is, Beaver, it has to be the same one. Okay? You can never have any variation. It's going to be one Jersey Mike's hoagie per week for the rest of your life, but you cannot deviate on what it is. What sandwich are you getting?
Matt Wyatt, I hate your questions. One forever.
Yes.
Give me... Just give me the number 8, the club sub.
Okay, the club. So it's ham, right?
Ham, turkey, cheese, and bacon.
Okay.
And I go lettuce, tomato, mayo.
Mm-hmm. You know what mine would be, Beaver? From Jersey Mike's. If I had to choose one, it was only one for the rest of my life, once a week. It would be that, what is it? Chicken bacon ranch. It's like a chicken Philly, but they put that ranch stuff on there.
I need you to do something.
Okay.
Get out of my head. Get out of my head, because I swear to you, when you posed that question of only one for the rest of my life,
yep,
that's what I was trying to decide between, the club sub or the bacon chicken ranch.
Man. See, my second choice would be that I think it's a number 16. It's like maybe the original Philly thing that they do. But I think that's the one I'd go with, that chicken deal. Hey, get this, Beav. I'm not making this up. My buddy Jared, who does a lot of traveling, he must be in the area and he's listening. He just texted me, and Jared texts me only rarely. And it said, man, I didn't know Chris Brooks was back on the radio during the lunch hour. Listen, Jared, we've been baseballing it for an hour and 45 minutes. Let us talk about our hoagies on National Hoagie Day for 10 minutes. That's it. For today, we will wrap things up. I'm Matt in the Bureau. For Beaver, all of us here on the show in the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau Insurance, go with the home team. See you tomorrow. See you.